here in upstate New York following two copycat threats at schools in the southern tier. Governor Andrew Cuomo taking the time to join us now to talk about these incidents. Cuomo, I think, Governor, it's needless to say, it's alarming now that we've had so many copycat incidents, as you've been calling them.
It certainly is. Look, Florida was another devastating blow to this nation. It's emotional, it's upsetting, especially for students. They can relate to the entire situation. They're young people, they're in the same situation. And there are different reverberations, there are different ramifications to this situation. One of them, which we're going through today, are quote unquote copycats, and copycats is the best interpretation of it. But young people now saying yesterday and today, well, I'm going to bring a gun to school. We had two incidents this morning in Chautauqua, one at the Chautauqua Lake District School, where a student said he was going to bring a gun in because he was having a problem with another student in the school. And that was reported. The state police were on site. They have the student who threatened to bring in the gun. They're also talking to the student who was on the other side of the alleged altercation. We had a situation in the Randolph Academy where a student said, had an altercation with a teacher and said he was going to bring in a gun to use on the teacher. And that's obviously a frightening situation. And the state police likewise there have responded, and they have that student in custody. We say copycat. The best interpretation is a certain amount of acting out, et cetera, and following what they just heard and using it as a threat. But every situation has to be handled as if it is a real imminent threat. And I want the school administrators to know that no one should take this casually. They must respond as if this is a real imminent threat. Contact the state police right away. They have procedures in schools. Both of these schools, by the way, the administration acted properly. They go into what they call lockdown. They protect the students, et cetera. They call the state police, and they don't release the normal operations of the school until they know everything is safe.
Now, Governor, what would you like to see done? I know yesterday you were on CNN talking about the state's SAFE Act and how you wish other states would follow suit, follow New York. What do you think needs to be done as this situation continues to happen over and over again?
Bree, the problem with this situation is it's so politically charged. And people come in with such definitive ideological positions. And we have the same discussion over and over. We actually made some progress in the state, but you hear right as soon as the conversation begins, people go to their respective corners. One group says, well, this is a mental health issue, and it has nothing to do with guns. The other group says, no, it's about the guns, and we have to eliminate guns. The truth normally in these situations is somewhere in the middle. Yes, it's a mental health issue, but it's a person with mental health issues who has access to guns. And that's what we addressed in the state of New York. We said, we respect people's rights to own a gun and to hunt, et cetera. I own a gun, and it's a big part of the tradition here in New York State. But we have to keep guns away from people who are mentally ill. To do that, first of all, you need a database of people who are mentally ill, which we did not have in this state. We have since put that together as part of the SAFE Act. We now have 77,000 people on a database who mental health professionals have said should not have a gun. 77,000. Those are people who could have bought a gun the day before the SAFE Act. If they go to buy a gun, it now is run against the database, it triggers, and they cannot buy a gun. Now, to get that database effective, it means before you can sell a gun, you have to go through a background check. And background checks are done at gun stores. If you can't get through a background check, then there's an easy way to circumvent it, which is you buy a gun privately or you buy a gun at a gun show. So we were in this same loop. People who couldn't pass a background check bought it privately, bought it at a gun show. We said in New York, we're going to have a database of people who are mentally ill. Before you can buy a gun, you have to go through the background check. It involves the mental health database. And private sales and gun show sales also have to go through that background check so we can run the mental health database. That is the common sense, realistic approach to this problem. Now, when we did the SAFE Act in New York, there was all sorts of fears, and people said, well, this is a slippery slope, and I'm a legal person, and I'm a hunter, and I'm afraid you're going to come and take my gun. We did this 5 years ago, Bree. There has been no slippery slope. No legal owner has been deprived of a gun. No person who can pass a background check has been deprived of a gun. And I believe we've made a significant difference, because that is the crux of the issue. Keeping people with mental health issues from buying guns, especially dangerous guns like assault weapons. An AR-15 has a tremendous capacity to kill many, many people very quickly. We have 44,000 registered AR-15s in New York State alone. And what we said is those guns are so dangerous that we have to take extra precautions. You know, this country in 1934 outlawed machine guns. Why? Because the machine gun was too dangerous. God forbid it fell in the wrong hands. These AR-15s make a machine gun look like a toy pistol now. So that's a special concern. And what we said was, if you have an AR-15, register it. We have 44,000 registered AR-15s, but we want to curtail the use of new AR-15s. But the crux is, yes, it's mental health, but it's mental health people and their access to guns. And that's what we addressed.
Now, you ordered state police to increase patrols statewide. Is that something that's just going to take place today, or are you going to continue that through next week, as there's always a threat that there could be more copycats following the tragic situation in Florida?
Well, Bree, we're going to watch how it goes. We've gone through a number of these situations now, but frankly, I was shocked at this morning's occurrence. 2 schools in Chautauqua, 3 students involved, as you mentioned. And we have other incidents around the state. We have increased state police around schools. We're on increased alert. We're reaching out to the school administrators. Take every threat seriously. Don't dismiss it. Don't say, well, this was just an emotional outrage, this was just puffing, or this was just a threat. Take everything seriously. God forbid, we have another situation actually occur in this state. So we'll see how it goes. This may be just an immediate reaction to yesterday, but we're going to watch it for the next few days. Hopefully it simmers down. But I also want students to know, this is not a joke. Any threat we take very seriously. Whether or not you follow up on the threat, we take it very seriously. And there are serious consequences to these kinds of threats, especially in this environment. And the students have to do their part. In Chautauqua, we had 16 and 17-year-olds. 16 and 17-year-olds, you should know better. And we're going to take the threats seriously. They can have serious consequences for you. School administrators, be diligent. We have increased state police surrounding schools. So everyone has to do their part, and then we'll see how it goes. Hopefully, the next few days, this will quiet down and we can get back to normal. But one must ask, what is normal in this new world, Bree, right? All of these things we never saw before, and we now see them with a frequency that is alarming. So I've learned the hard way. Err on the side of caution, whether it's a storm or a flood or it's a threat of violence, and that's what we're doing here.
Very good. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us this afternoon. We really appreciate it, Governor Cuomo.
Thanks. Thanks for having me, Britt.